Hey HBs, you're listening to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends read romance novels and bask in the talent, depth, drive, and devotion of mostly female creators, while also not taking ourselves too seriously. Before we get started, we have a Patreon shout out. This one goes out to Monica M., and we're still knee-deep in the fearsome critters of lumberjack lore. Monica, you are a Glawackus, or northern devil cat, a fearsome critter who makes an impact on everyone you come in contact with. You are a combination of a lion, bear, and a panther, known for its bone-rattling screech, and, of course, your graceful courage. You have eyes that glow like embers, and your gaze is so intense that a lumberjack cannot look into your eyes without forgetting their own name. Yeah, that definitely sounds like you, lady. Get it? All right, and now we are going to just go right in to Haven by Rebekah Weatherspoon because I cannot wait any longer. Hooray! Hi, Erin.
Hello, Melody.
How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty darn good. I have a new obsession.
What is it?
Oh, it's
Is it
this
a food?
trashy American TV show called
Yes.
Paradise Hotel.
Paradise Hotel. Oh,
Yeah.
is that the one that the previews look exactly like Jane the Virgin? Only drama?
No, it's a reality show.
Oh, then never mind. There's some kind of new like drama show that is about a hotel, and it's very like first two episodes of Jane the Virgin. It's like
Whoa.
rich family owns the hotel, like body
Somebody
shows up,
gets
covering it
inseminated.
up. Yeah. Yes, exactly. No one's inseminated. But like the whole thing of like family owned hotel and like
Yeah.
there's one class and then a lower class and then there's like a body and like all that. And I'm
Whoa.
like, you just ripped this off of episode 1 of Jane the Virgin. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to the thing that you were talking about that I interrupted.
Oh, right. My thing. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, your thing. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, so you know how much I loved Love Island,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So this, you have to get your mind wrapped around going for like a downgraded version, right? Because it's basically the same thing except with really, really stupid Americans.
Yes.
And there's no accents to make you think they're like smarter or funnier or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're all just real dumb Americans, but oh boy, it is delish watching a bunch of super hot, super dum-dums just try to strategize about things.
So what happens? They just lock them in the hotel or what?
Yeah. So 11 sexy singles show up on day 1. And then you have to, what is the phrasing? It's like you have to pair up, otherwise you check out.
Die. No, you just leave the hotel.
You just have to fuck off.
Yeah.
So it's really fun. That's been my new obsession lately because I think it's on like 3 or 4 nights a week because also I don't do any
what
of
network?
the Fox. I don't do any of the Twitter like
The way you said
know
Fox
vote-
was like, of course Fox. Like why? Sorry. You don't do any of the
fine.
tweets. You don't have
Yeah, but apparently like America can decide things if you vote for stuff and like who should go in.
I love it when
who should
America
get out.
decides.
Oh man, right? We make the best decisions.
Yes.
Yeah. There's one guy who is like so obviously the snake.
Yes.
He is such a snake.
Yes.
And nobody has noticed. It's really amazing.
Is he hot at all?
Yeah.
Because I want you to know I'm coming off of a Game of Thrones Patreon episode in which I said Littlefinger could get it. And it's been eating me alive ever since.
As it should. As it should.
I think I learned something about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you know what? Here's the thing. I think the actual reason I don't like him, because I haven't liked him from day one, is that his name is Carlos and he always refers to himself as Papi Sazon. And it's And I'm just like, third person
say it
and
again.
third person nickname.
Say it again with full shoulders.
My white girl soul shoulders. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Papi Sazon. I basically just did a merengue in front of Erin. Yeah. And I'm just like, get out of this third person situation, you know?
Yeah, that's not.
Just stop it. Like
No.
DJ Khaled, we know your name.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and we know a lot of other shit about you, DJ Khaled, and we are not about it.
No, DJ Khaled cannot get it.
No.
You know what I mean?
Get it.
Cannot get it.
Because there are things that he won't get, and so now he can't get it. Your white girl shoulders reminded me of something that I want to talk to you about IRL. This is an IRL conversation. David
is it an
and
IRL conversation I have to edit out?
No, I just want to let you know, listener. I mean, all of our conversations are IRL, but this is like actually a real life conversation. I wanted to have with you.
Yeah.
David and I have chosen, we're not going to go back on it, but we have chosen a Spanish language song for our first dance. On a scale of 1 to 10, us both being white, how much do you think that this will freak out the wedding guests? As far as like turning to your neighbor and being like, is he Latin in some sort of way? Or like, is Erin from, like people who don't know both of us being like, was Erin like born in Colombia or something that we don't know? Like, do you think it's going to confuse and dismay everyone? Or you think it's going to be okay?
I don't know. I mean, so here's the thing. I think you need to remember that I don't know both of you.
Right.
I have never met David, right?
Right. So if the music
I only
began,
know you.
Would you turn to the person next to you and be like, is David like Mexican and I don't know
Well,
it?
no.
Or, like,
because
is he from a place?
There's not a single way that David has any kind of non-white heritage.
I know,
and
but he has dark hair. I don't know. I'm just saying, I feel like it will be perplexing.
No, but B, you've told me that you guys basically, he like has a deep, deep, unironic love for Latin pop songs.
Loves
so, like,
Latin pop songs.
Yeah, like, no, that, like, I mean, like, if you had a Dia de los Muertos theme,
that would be
everyone
wrong.
Would be super confused.
Yeah,
and
that would be
perhaps a little
upsetting
offended.
for everyone. Yes.
Yeah.
If I were to like paint my face like a sugar skull and be like, this is my wedding theme, I think that would be very upsetting for
let's not,
everyone.
Yeah.
But it's just a song we both like, so I think it's okay.
And as long as there is corazon and amor and stuff.
Definitely amor.
Like,
I don't know that the word corazon is said in the song.
Well, I'll think that the love is in your heart parts either way.
I'll send it to you after this for you to listen to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Listener, if you are personally offended by David and I's choice of a Latin pop song for our first dance, please send us an email. I don't think we're going to change it, but I would like to know if people are going to be personally offended by it, just so I can brace myself. Okay. Should we talk about the book?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Did you love it?
I think so.
I loved it.
I knew you would.
I loved it.
Here's the thing. I objectively understand that this was a very good book, and it was also objectively very sexy and very well written.
Oh my God.
It's a very good book. I don't know that it was for me.
No, it's not for you. No.
But I can appreciate that it was a good book. And I definitely cared about the characters. I definitely, like, the heat level is off the chain. It worked for me. But I don't know that it was for me on, like, a lot of different levels. Yeah. So, yeah. Not my favorite book, but a very good book.
But who dangy. What a good book.
Who dangy.
Who dangy. Okay, so listener, we are going to be recapping Haven by Rebekah Weatherspoon. Now, I have to tell you something.
I also have a signed copy of this book from the Ripped Bodice.
What?
Anyway, yeah,
this was the book you got? Amazing.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah. So I read Rafe, like basically when it came out. That's one of her buff male nanny series. Because, can I just say, Rebekah Weatherspoon, you absolute treasure. You
slayed this.
Got us from top to bottom, you know, and like all the way around, all the ways, all of them. But her series taglines are wonderful. This one is beards and bondage. Like, yes, please.
I like that it just tells you what it's going to be.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yes.
You know?
It's not like the Crimson Moon series. It's like, well,
No.
what is that? You know
What is it
exactly
about?
what you're getting. Beards,
Oh.
bondage. If there really is a Crimson Moon series, I'm not making fun of it. It's just what came to mind, and I have no idea if it's real. Okay.
Yeah, and like if it's a cool paranormal thing, I'm probably going to get a good idea.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm sure that's a great series if it exists.
Who knows?
Okay, yeah, moving on.
Yeah, and then the other one is the Buff Male Nanny series.
Yeah.
Just like
know
everything.
What you're getting.
Cat, nip, give it to me. So yeah, this thing though was wonderful. And it comes out swinging in like two polar opposite ways.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Out swinging. Okay,
Yes.
should we just get into it?
Yes.
Okay, so the very first chapter is our boy. His name is Shep. Shepherd.
Did you have it written on your hand?
No, I have a piece of clementine on my hand and I was inspecting it to make sure it wasn't paper.
If it was paper, would you have eaten it?
Maybe.
That's a callback to episode 2 when Melody ate paper.
A Scott ties a knot or something when a bagel tricked me.
Courtney Milan. It doesn't matter, but Melody ate paper. It was very funny.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So anyway, so Shep is back from a week-long pilgrimage down to LA, and he's texting. He's like, my girl, our session isn't going to be over until I text her. And so he's like, are you in bed? Are you getting all tucked in? And she's like, yeah, Shep, I miss you already. And it is so excellent. And so then he gets another text from a... I'm sorry, you guys. I can't. I tried to pull it together.
Guys, during the Game of Thrones episode, Cole taught me how to mute my microphone to cough. And I did it. There you go, Melody.
She did it. And I got so excited that I tried to do a happy dance while also talking. And then I got so excited that I was just completely sidetracked. So
it's a huge fucking button on the front. It's the only button on the microphone, and it says mute. It's literally the only button. All right,
so you guys, going. I didn't have to edit out a cough just now, and I cannot tell you how much I am just bursting with joy. Okay. Now, then he gets another text he's like, oh, it's Marcos. And I'm about to put our girl to bed, and he gets a picture of her splayed out in the bed with marks on her inner thighs and all the goodness.
And then he gets
straight up picture.
Labia marks.
That's the next picture.
Ugh.
No, not labia marks. No.
Yeah, I thought it said pussy lips.
He said marks on her inner thighs and then bright red pussy lips because they had been a-doing it so much.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. Also sounds uncomfortable, but seems to work for them.
Yeah.
So then he gets a picture of Marcos just about to lick her clit. Mm-hmm. And he's like, good thing I'm not the jealous type. Have fun, kids.
Yeah.
And
what a selfie game does Marco have that he's able to take a selfie of just about to lick the nether regions of a lady?
I know.
What a selfie.
We really need to brush up on our skills, I think.
I will never take that kind of selfie. However, you know what, Marco? More power to you.
That's right.
Do it.
Woo. Woo. So, and that, you guys, that's the first taste we get. But that moment when he looks at the picture and is just about to start jerking off is when he hears the screams. It literally says, and that's when I heard the screaming.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It is serious business up in here. Somebody's pounding on his door. Somebody's like, help me, please let me in. Blah! And so he goes to the door and he grabs his shotgun, which is always loaded because he is mountain man.
Yes.
And his dog is going crazy. And he opens up the door and this woman falls into his arms. And she's all fucked up. She's super bloody. It is a mess. And she's like, he's trying to kill me. He's chasing me. And then she falls on the floor. And then out of the tree line comes a deranged man covered in blood with a knife. And the guy is like, oh, looks like our little game has come to an end. She found civilization. And Shep's like, do not move another inch or I will shoot you. And then he's like, we can share her.
Yeah.
And Shep's like, no, don't move or I'll shoot you. And then guys, guess what? He moves.
Mm-hmm.
He comes closer. So Shep has no choice but to shoot him right in the just center mass with a shotgun.
First he misses.
Chow.
He misses the first time. But then he shoots him. Bing Boong Bong.
I knew it.
This didn't start out great for me. I was like, oh, womp womp. This is my problem. It is my problem. But I just feel like this is not how this happens IRL, and it's so super rare that you get like a deranged serial killer in a national park. I think maybe like, I don't know, 5 times in history, or like somebody who's like chasing a woman with a knife who's like playing a game with her of like, I'm going to let you run and then I'm going to catch you. There's been exactly one of those.
Right.
I don't know what I wished it was, because how this usually plays out if a woman is banging on your door in the middle of the night and she's being chased by somebody is she comes in, the guy's behind her and is like, hey, listen, that's my girlfriend. Nuts. She's off her rocker. Like, I was trying to she's not on her meds. I'm trying to subdue her. That's how she got cut. Like, don't worry about it, man. And then you really have to make a decision of who's telling the truth here. And I wish
a lot of times one male defers to the other.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's how it usually ends up in my area of
right.
But like, that's fine. It's fine. It's not about that. It's not a book about that. It's a me problem. It's not a Rebekah Weatherspoon problem. Yeah. I wished it was a little less like deranged serial killer, because it doesn't happen, and that bothered me.
But boy, was it cinematic.
It was great.
You know what I mean?
Sorry. It was great. This is a problem I personally have. Okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. You're a person with serious law enforcement, like not only background, but it's like, I don't know, 80 hours out of your week.
Well, and the thing is, like, this first chapter, I was like, oh no, this is not going to be like nuanced in the least. This is going to be a very like black and white, and I was completely wrong. But just so you know, at the end of this chapter and the end of like probably the 3rd chapter, I was like, woof, this is going to be a slog, and I was real wrong about it. So
yeah, the one thing that I did really like about it is that for most of the rest of the book, there isn't a lot of logistical bullshit as far as law enforcement is concerned. It's just dealing with the trauma. Like, it's the emotional rebuilding rather than the rest of it. So it's really nice. But I had the same worry. I was just like, oh no, we're not going to have to like watch a trial.
And you know what? Maybe that's why it happened like this. So we don't have to watch a freaking trial and a full-scale FBI investigation.
Yeah, I didn't really want
jurisdictional
nuance.
War between the state and the feds and the and what's his face getting investigated and blah, blah, blah. You know, maybe that's the best choice for the book. Actually, probably it is. So
it definitely is.
Don't listen to me. Listen to a different podcast. Don't do that. Listen to this one, but like not me. Just Mel. That really pleased Melody. You should have seen her. She got like 3 inches taller in her chair. Like, well.
That was really confusing.
I'm sorry.
Me.
Well, I was like, don't listen to me. And then I was like, listen to a different podcast. I was like, whoa. Don't.
No, they can also listen to crime podcasts. That's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not a crime podcast, right? Nor is this a crime book. Not a crime book.
Not a crime book.
Just includes a crime.
It's just a crime.
Okay. All right. So he's like, oh my God, she's bleeding from all the places. I have to get her to the ER ASAP. He's like way the fuck up on a mountain. Like I imagine his house is a lot like my house growing up in Oregon, where like the nearest ER was between 45 minutes and an hour away over a winding road. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he's like trying to get her there as soon as possible, because you don't wait for an ambulance in that scenario.
Right.
He's motoring. He's doing it. He's taking her down. He's trying to keep her conscious because she's sort of fading in and out. And so he asks her name. He finds out that her brother was with him and her brother told her to run, and she listened, and she's already feeling terrible about that. And he's like trying to reassure her. So he gets her down to the ER, and they start taking care of her. They do all the things. They get him. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff that just like happens in the first 3 chapters. That's very logistical. It's like, we're doing surgery on her now. You're waiting in the waiting room.
Yes.
Oh, he also, on the way to the hospital, he has oh man, I don't know why, you guys. I find out a lot about myself in these books. And in this case, I don't know why, but such a big turn on for me was him having a CB radio. I don't know why. I have no idea. But the moment Rebekah Weatherspoon was like, he pulled out his CB radio. I was just like, oh.
Melody's kink is CB radios. It's dukes that tell you to call them by their first name and CB radios.
You know what? In this case,
no
I
hard
think it's
limits.
just like it's like a competence boner. You know what I mean? Like he is just taking care of business. He can talk to any authority he wants to, and right now he's telling everybody to go find her brother. How hot is that?
I mean, yes, that's hot. Yeah.
I don't know. It's a competence boner thing. I don't know. It was a weird thing. Oh my gosh. And in the car, he asks if she wants him to hold her hand, and she doesn't like say anything. She just reaches for him, and it's one of the sweetest things in the whole wide world. So after the surgery, he goes to her room and he asks about her brother again. Or she asks him, and he says that he hasn't heard, but he's going to stay with her until she falls asleep. And these two already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So chapter 2 is the sheriff interviewing him. He's got to go do that whole thing. He can't go back to his house because it is now a crime scene. There's a dead body in his front lawn.
Okay, wait.
His poor dog is in the bathroom. Sorry, go.
Interviews. Listen. Hey. Bing, boom, boom.
Oh, this is a terrible interview.
These sheriffs and the FBI agents, like, I do not know where they went to, like, interviewing or interrogation. I don't know. It's bad. But that's not anybody's fault. That's their fault. Bad sheriff.
It is.
But, like, he walks in and he's like, do I need a lawyer? And they're like, I don't know. Do you want one? And he's like, well, I didn't do anything wrong, so I guess I don't need a lawyer. Bing, boom, bong. You need a lawyer. You can't just go in there and clear the whole thing up. You can't handle that shit.
It doesn't make you look guilty to have a lawyer.
Google up a comedy routine by Tom Segura called The First 48. You can't handle that shit. Don't talk to the cops. You're going to do 25 to life. That's what's like, she's taking that comedy bit.
It's true.
It's true. Doesn't matter if you didn't do anything wrong. Shep, get a lawyer. Also,
just get yourself a lawyer.
The FBI agents are like routinely referred to as like total dicks throughout the whole second and third chapter.
I knew that was going to get you.
Tell me one thing they did that made them total dicks. Like, I dare you.
Oh, I will. Are you ready?
Yeah.
They didn't tell him that he could go see her.
Of course he can't go see her.
Still?
He just murdered somebody. That's a huge investigation. There's been a double homicide.
They knew he didn't do anything bad.
You can't just say, I don't know. People who are involved in investigations can't hang out together in the hospital and like fucking hold each other and shit. You wait.
No. Not then. I'm talking about when they were done with their investigation and leaving town.
Yeah.
They didn't tell him that she was being discharged.
Why should they?
So that he could go see her.
What? That's not their job.
Yeah, but they knew. You know what I mean? They knew.
What, that he wanted to go see her?
That they were,
It's the responsibility of an FBI agent to inform the guy who has a crush on the victim in the case who just murdered her assailant that she's being discharged if he wants to go down there and say, hey.
I mean, are you being a pal or are you being a dick?
You're being an FBI agent. You're just doing your job. They just want to get home to not bumfuckville, California.
Erin, that was not one of the options. I said, are you being a pal or are you being a dick?
You're being a pal to your friends and family back home who you want to get home to post haste.
Oh, as if a one sentence, hey, she's out, would have like taken them a bunch of time.
They don't want him to go contact her. Are you kidding me?
I know.
It's witness.
Because they're dicks.
Yeah. They're two witnesses to their brand new, like, multiple homicide serial killer case. They don't want those two together in any capacity.
Honestly, what is the only thing they did that was dickish was ask them not to speak to each other while the investigation was ongoing.
It's not dickish.
Check out his truck.
Not
like,
dickish.
take physical evidence from his truck.
A man.
And then cleaned it up. Like, he and Maybell took
if
out
anyone
the Clorox
did a dickish
and cleaned
thing,
up his truck.
it's this guy for cleaning the blood out of his truck.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, I know. I just find it hilarious, and I need to troll you on all things law enforcement.
Jesus. If this went to trial and they were like living together and smooching every day and like he rushed to the hospital as soon as the investigation was closed, that would 100% come up. 100%. The agents don't want
that's
that.
reasonable doubt for their narrative. Is like they're covering for each other.
Yeah. All right. moving on.
Yeah, no, I know things about, reasonable doubt and shit.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah,
Look
exactly.
at me.
There you go.
That's right.
These
I watch
FBI agents
SVU.
aren't dicks. They're not dicks. All right? Okay.
Okay. So they're like, you can go pack a bag because you have to stay with your neighbors. The neighbors are Maybelle and Jad. They are old AF. They've known him since he was a tyke, and they're basically like second, like father and mother to him.
Yes.
They're like aunties and uncles. Anyway. Oh, when he goes to the hospital, he runs into Sarah, his ex.
Hey,
we
Sarah.
don't know a lot about Sarah.
Sup, girl?
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty mad at you. But he's like, I didn't know you were back in town. And she's like, I am. So
Yeah.
there's that. And he's like,
I mean, like, bird chirp, hashtag,
yeah.
like a little bit of justice for Sarah. Like a little bit.
No,
I
not
know,
even
but,
close.
Like, I'll get there, but like just a smidgen.
No.
Like, I'm
No.
not... Like, I'm not a full on.
Abso-fucking-lutely not.
I'm not pro Sarah.
Mm.
I just feel like a little bit of justice for Sarah.
Not
just
even.
Like,
not a
just
tiny
like a
bit.
kernel. Just like
Not even close.
like a salt grain of justice.
No, I won't even give you a grain of sand.
All right.
Abso-fucking-lutely
I think
not.
salt grains are smaller.
Are
But
they?
that's fine. I don't know. Let us know,
You know,
Nancy. What's smaller?
not-
a grain of sand
not
or a
an-
grain of salt?
Not an
Send us an email, Natalie.
electron
What?
of... I said not an electron of justice.
Electron.
For yeah. Tell me something that's smaller than electron that's
There's
not getting
something
into
smaller.
quantum mechanics.
Quarks.
I don't want to talk about quarks. I don't want to do that.
Quarks
We don't know what we're talking
Quacks.
about.
are smaller than that. Anyway.
Okay, we need to focus.
Focus.
So, all right. So they chat. He visits her. And she's like, we were getting quality time. He just graduated from Stanford and he just finished up his residency. Doesn't fucking matter. They were going camping as a brother-sister duo because they don't have their parents anymore either. And then they got attacked by these crazy pants. And he tells her that his grandfather always used to say to try to think of a way it could have been worse. And she's
Yeah.
like, hardy har, did you forget the part where
Everyone
my brother
I
was
love
murdered?
is dead.
Yeah. And he says, I mean, this would have made me laugh too. He says it would have been worse if they were clowns. Which, I don't know.
I mean, this kind of spoke to me.
Didn't it?
When I had my like thing that we thought was a stroke and I was like in the hospital and like David couldn't get there for some amount of time and they still hadn't ruled out a stroke, but I was like done stroking at that point.
Right.
And I'm like laying in the hospital bed and he comes in and he kneels down beside me, takes my hand, and he said, "What's your life insurance situation? Like, have you switched that over to me yet, or is that still your parents?"
David is so funny.
Isn't that sweet?
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah, clowns.
Then
That
he
was
says,
funny.
Yeah,
Ugh.
so then the laughter turns into super cathartic tears. And then he said, this might be a podcast where I just read you the whole book because I have so many quotes that I pulled.
I have
This
to.
one is, I know we just met, but do you want me to hold you? I'll do it happily. I'm only asking because I want it to be your choice. I figure you might do with some comforting. And then she says, please. And he gets into the bed and pulls her onto his lap. And then they fall asleep, you guys. They fall asleep.
And then they are woken up.
And then
by
those super
righteous
dickish FBI
agents
officers
being like, "I'm sorry,
come
they're in
in.
the room together." To the orderly, and the orderly's like, "What? I don't understand anything." And they're like, "You run a real
it's
tight
actually a
fucking ship
cop.
around here." I don't remember. Oh yeah, even
it's actually
worse.
a cop guarding the door. I know.
Anyway,
Yeah.
And then they're rudely awakened, and he's pulled out of the room.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm sorry, you want to do what? You want to interview me? Like, why would you do that?
Why?
Like, yeah, dude.
You murdered a man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, we gotta interview you, man. So they do. It's like not a thing.
No, it's not important.
You know. Yeah, he leaves in a huff. They spend 3 days apart because he can't talk to anybody. He's at Maybelle and Jad's house. And then 3 days later, they go down to town.
Mm-hmm.
They find out that FBI investigation's pretty much over.
And I should say, these guys that killed her and her brother have also killed people in multiple states. They're serial killers going across the nation. So if anyone's wondering jurisdictionally how this is working, that's how.
Oh, I'm sure everybody was.
That was for Blair. There are a few people out there that were wondering. I know it.
No,
All right.
I know. I'm sure Kelly wondered too.
Yeah.
So he goes back to the hospital to see her, and he finds out that she has checked out, and like the FBI immediately drove her to the airport.
Yes.
dicks.
Smart.
And so Sarah, his ex, is like, she left a letter for you. She is not okay. She's physically fine, but she's obviously not okay. Like, whatever she asks you to do in the letter, you do it. And he's really excited to open this letter. But then he's totally deflated because it's this really sweet, hurting, rambly letter about how she's going to cope and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He reads it like 4 times. At the end of this chapter, it says, her number doesn't magically appear. There isn't an email address or a website, no breadcrumbs to her cottage in the woods or her loft in the city. Sarah's right about a lot of things when it comes to me, but she doesn't know Claudia Cade. She's a fighter. She doesn't need me at all. She will be just fine. Ooh.
But she does need him, you guys.
She does, you guys.
She does.
She needs him. And she needs his dick.
Yes.
Okay.
It's big, too. Spoiler alert.
The penis parts
Yes.
are rather large.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we clip to Claudia's perspective, and I wish we would have had Claudia's perspective earlier in the book because I kind of felt like we were 20% into the book before we got a jump in perspective.
Yeah.
So I was
liked
like,
it,
wait,
though,
what?
because no, totally. But from like a writing/reading experience perspective, I'm kind of glad we didn't get like in the moment trauma because also this thing is all written in first person present.
Yeah. But I feel like if it clipped to her like when she was in the bed, when he was there when she fell asleep and then woke up and like the holding scene, I could have done with Claudia's perspective. Because I kind of felt from his perspective, it was like a little bit like, you don't know this chick. Like, what are you doing? What? Getting into this. So if I could have had her during that time, I think it would have been nice. But
maybe.
Anyway, all right, moving on.
It also worked this way.
Yes.
Okay. So it is like...
Because Melody loves this book so much that it's like, it was perfect. How
that's not...
dare you?
I completely agree with you. I'm just saying that it didn't hurt the reading experience.
No, it was just how you were like, well, it also worked this way.
I think I'm a touch defensive. Okay. So chapter 4 is all of her solo recovery. And it's awesome because we like whiz zip through like the first 6 months. She does her brother's memorial. She does, she breaks up with the boyfriend. Her temper is hair trigger at work. Oh man, her boyfriend sucks.
Oh, her boyfriend's such a dick, but a believable dick too.
Oh my God, such a believable dick.
Oh God.
Like, let's just put it this way. The very first night he gets back, he's like, why the fuck did you not call me? That's his first thing. Like, come on, man. Just like, it's not about you.
No.
And then he's like, oh, are you tired? Do you want to snuggle? Here, he's the guy who says, I'll just put on the Mets game for you.
For you.
You asshole.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, man. The other day, because Mother's Day was happening, I can't remember what I was telling my mom about, but I was like, oh, yeah, I got this thing for Mother's Day. And she referenced the time that one of the many times that my dad used to get her things that he wanted. So like there was that one time she got the weed whacker.
Ooh.
And she's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Anyway, so by the 6th month, she's also quitting her job. We see a little bit of her therapy. And she's like, I think I just need to like get out of here and do like a quest or something. Like I got things I gotta do. And that's where that chapter ends. So then, you guys.
Wait, I'm going to do one more. And then I swear it's over. I swear Crime Time with Erin is going to be done after this.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
He admits to the crime the serial killer confesses to the crime against Claudia and her brother.
And the rest of them, right?
No. And because of that, that's going to be, if anything, a guilty plea. There's going to be no trial because he's admitted to it. The case is airtight. That's fine. So they extradite him to another case to stand trial for a triple murder that he has not admitted to.
Okay.
Somehow Claudia is mad about that. And she's like, bureaucracy doesn't give a shit about your feelings.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Isn't that the weirdest thing? It's like he confessed. He's going to, I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand. This is a phenomenon in the criminal justice system that people want a trial even when it's like they're going to plead guilty. Yay for you. They're going to go to jail and you don't have to go through the horrible trauma of going through a trial and testifying, like all the horrible shit that entails. And then people are like, this is bullshit that they pled guilty and I don't get my trial. It's like, well, So I was kind of surprised. It's a real phenomenon, but I was surprised to see it in this book. I'm like, Claudia, you're a smart lady. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, not to mention that you would think that because she has some semblance of closure, she would want to give closure to the family who has had no idea who murdered their family out in the woods. You know what I mean?
I mean, what it says is they don't tell you how long it takes to release a body or how long a federal prosecutor will take to tell you things you already know, like how there won't be a trial because your brother's killer confessed and they need to extradite him to another state to stand trial for a triple murder he won't cop to. The bureaucracy doesn't give a shit about your feelings. It's like, well, that federal prosecutor probably didn't know until that. She's supposed to call her and give her, like, false information? I just didn't. I'm like, Claudia. Anyway, all right, that's the end. Crime Time with Erin is done for the rest of the book, I promise. All right.
I mean, it does take a really fucking long time. Like, you know, the victims and everybody's in limbo for a really, really long time when anything happens in the criminal justice system.
And it's not because no one cares about your feelings, Claudia. That's not the problem. Anyway. All right.
No, but I also understand from that perspective being like, I just wanted to bury my brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The releasing the body thing I can get, but the not getting to do a trial thing is very weird to me.
Yeah. Okay. So then we're back in Shep's cabin where we all wanted to be from the very beginning.
Thank you.
Get me back to Shep's cabin.
Get me back to sex time.
And he gets a call from the lady who works the diner because the lady who works the diner knows everything. Always. Doesn't matter what lady, doesn't matter what diner. They always know. So Claudia's in town. She's on this gratitude tour. And she was waiting for Shep to get there, but he was out in the woods. It was a whole thing. So he pretty much like makes sure his dog is fed, kinda, and then races down the mountain as fast as he can to go see her. He checks both of the overnight lodging places and he finds her at the second one. She comes out because the front desk calls her. She comes out with these pink flowers and she's like, pink is for gratitude. And they just sort of stare at each other because neither of them thought about what was going to happen after they saw each other. And then he's like, do you want to get out of here? And she's like, yes, I do. So they go to the bar and he's like, oh man, as soon as she walks through the door before that though, he's like, whoa, I did not know what a fox she was. Like, I only knew her bruised up and bloodied and bandaged and, you know, constantly crying.
But yet he still has thought about her sexually many times since then.
Oh, yeah.
Because he could see that one eye. He saw one sexy eye.
One hazel eye. And he just... Oh, man. Yeah. So they go to the bar together and she keeps on saying things like she knows this is crazy. And he's like, I'm right here with you.
I'm good.
Like, I don't think this is crazy at all. And she tells him about quitting and dumping the boyfriend. She said, I love this.
She said, I had nightmares. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, go ahead.
She asks if he has nightmares. No, I don't remember. They ask each other if they have nightmares, and they're both like, yeah, we both have nightmares from that night. And she's like, I dumped my boyfriend and I quit my job. And he's like, because of the nightmares? And she's like, no, because neither of those things were making me feel better when I was awake.
Oh my God, so good. And then she goes, I don't remember you being so tall. And he says, I don't remember you being so sexy.
Oh.
And then you guys, this is another weird swoony moment with Melody. She says, don't say things like that. And he says, I apologize. It won't happen again.
My heart beats for Shep. She tried it. She shut him down. He's like, all right, fine by me.
Yeah, done and done. So, oh man. And then he asks what she needs. And she says, I can't tell you. And he asks, tell me what you need. And she says, I can't tell you. And then he just changes the subject because he says pushing her makes him a dick. So he's not going to do that. Oh, man. And then she asks if he tried to find her. And he's like, well, no.
She says she looked for him online. That's right. She tried to find him. And she said he's hard to find. And he's like, I don't have any social media. And then she says, did you look for me online? And he's like, no. And she gets pissed. Like, she's irrationally hurt and pissed. And she's like, you know what? I should go. Clearly, what it means to her is this like weird obsession that she's had with him since the incident. It's not mutual.
It's completely one-sided.
And she's created this person in her brain that does not exist, and he has not had the same experience that she has, and she feels embarrassed
Except
and
you
hurt.
guys. No, she's
100%,
wrong.
she's wrong. Yep.
She's so wrong. So he takes her back to the cabin, and then as she's up the stairs, she like puts out her hand awkwardly and is like, great to see you. And so he hugs her and he kisses the top of her head.
Yes.
And she melts against him. And then he's like, my body is telling me I can't leave, and so that means I have to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But he grabs her. He's like, give me your phone and I'll give you my number. And he says, call me before you leave town.
Mm-hmm.
So he's driving back, and within like 3 minutes of him leaving the cabin, he gets this sobbing call from her.
Why didn't you look for me?
Why didn't you find me?
And he's like, I don't know, because of boundaries. You wrote me a note and you didn't leave your phone number or your email address or anything. And so like, I didn't want to creep on you. I'm not going to be a stalker.
Yeah, he says, at what point does concern become stalking? And she's like, come back to the cabin right now. And he's like, my dog is up at my house. I can't do that. And she's like, okay, then let me come to your house.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, okay. On the one hand, dream come true. On the other hand, you remember what happened at my house?
And like flashbacks.
Yeah. And she's like, I think I'm going to be okay. Let's just do that. So he comes and picks her up, and she goes up to the house. She's like,
she follows him, so she still has her car. Important.
No, not this time.
Really? Oh, bing, boom, bong, safety with Erin. Do not go up to Mountain Man's house. All you know about this man is that he shot another human person until they died. Don't go up to his house in the nighttime. And then we later find out her friends back home in NYC don't even know where the fuck she is. Bing, boom, bong. Yeah. Don't do that.
I know.
All
no,
right.
She gets right into his truck.
Oof.
So she goes up to his house. Well, although I will say that to Shep's credit, he's like, all right, we're going to go to the front desk and let him know that you're coming up to my house.
Yes.
And she's like, why the fuck does the front desk person need to know where I am? I know. And he's like, because it's safety with Erin. That's what he says.
Yeah.
So they settle in on the couch and they make this deal that they're going to be 100% honest with each other, no matter what. And he's like, ugh, I hate this because like anything I say out loud is just going to make her run for the hills.
Right.
But okay. So she finally tells him that she hasn't been able to stop thinking about him. And
she's obsessed with him.
Yeah, specifically him holding her.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And then she goes, all right, you. And he says, first of all, he starts off this whole thing. Yeah, I know, me too. Everything is highlighted.
I have turned my Kindle around to show Melody the 3 solid pages of highlight.
I know. He says something like, I'm not saying this to like shock or impress you or anything like that. This is just the truth. I have a very specific coping mechanism and it's sexual. And she's like, okay. Mm-hmm. So he tells her that he is a dominant and he just basically says that he's a dominant, right? Mm-hmm. At that point. And she's like, okay, so I want a hug and you want to dominate, you're submissive. Mm-hmm. Oh, he tells her his whole thing is he has sex 1 time a year. He goes down to LA. He books like a week-long session at this club. Mm-hmm. And then he comes back home and deals with himself for the rest of the year.
Right.
So she's like, okay, so you have a submissive down in LA. And he's like, no. I do not want to dominate my submissive. I don't have a submissive. I don't have one that belongs to me. But I do sort of want to dominate a specific submissive.
Someone specific.
If that makes sense.
Yo.
Yeah.
So finally he admits, I've thought about dominating you.
Yeah. And then she's like, okay, new deal. It says, then let's make one more deal. Tonight you hold me. And then tomorrow, after I've gotten some sleep and a chance to stretch, you dominate me.
Nice.
And he's immediately like, no deal.
No deal, but I'll hold you
I'm not
tonight.
doing that.
That's good.
Yeah, but like, come over here, girl. I'm going to hold you. And
he wraps his mountain man bare arms around her. He snuggles her up in his beard on his couch. And then you know what he does?
What does he do, Erin?
He hands her the remote and says, I've got Netflix and all the other streaming services. You pick what you want, girl. He doesn't put on no fucking Mets game or any like television show that he likes or whatever.
No.
He lets her pick. I really like the mirror image of like the other boyfriend putting on the Mets
I do
game
too.
And then this. And doesn't
especially
she pick
since he sat through the
Trap?
Originals.
Yeah. She picks the original Parent Trap. Listen.
No, wait. So first of all, that is one of the choices. But the other choice, I found this hilarious because throughout the whole book, we get like tidbits of him being like, ugh, she's watching that vampire werewolf Bewitched on the Bayou show or whatever. And then we find out afterwards that she's been having him watch the first season of the originals.
Oh, I think I herbs that. I mean, I got that there was some werewolf show,
it.
But yeah, original Parent Trap. Get that Lohan version. Maybe it wasn't available or something. Woof.
Okay, so then the next scene opens up with him out in the woods, and he says, it's inner monologue, and it says, "It's been a while, but I consider beating off in the woods while I'm out waiting for the sun to rise. I've been hard for almost 10 hours.
That's not true. Call a Dr. Shep. He says that several times in this book. Like, I've been hard for 5 hours. I've been hard for 7 hours. I'm like, call a physician.
He did fall asleep for a little while, so he might have gone down and not noticed it. But anyway, it says, Claudia doesn't want me to hold her. She wants our bodies to meld together through our clothes, which just like same. Just serve me up a dish of that. You know what I mean?
Totes.
So when he comes back, she's like snacking and she asks if they can talk. And
love it.
She said,
I love it. This is like my favorite part. I love it.
Me too.
Okay, go.
Do you want to take it?
All right. Wait, I hope I have the right thing. Is this the part where it's like why she broke up with her boyfriend? Is that where you're going?
No, but tell me about it.
Okay. She closes her eyes for a second and sucks in another breath. I was serious last night. While I'm not a member of a club or a professional, I'm not completely unfamiliar with the type of sex that you're describing. She's speaking slowly. She's considering every word. Oh, I'm speaking fast. Whoops. Imagine it was slow and considering of every word. Okay. Part of the reason I broke up with my ex was because he stopped fucking me the way that I liked him to. When I got back to New York, he wasn't ready for how fucked up I was. I know he was trying to be gentle with me, but even when I was perfectly healed, he turned rough sex that I preferred into this slow, measured, missionary lovemaking that I never signed up for, and I want the rough stuff back. Ooh.
Yeah, same girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's basically like, let's do this out over a week instead of just one time so that we can have some time to acclimate to each other.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to take it now because what I pulled, I love that.
Oh, yeah. What I can't read this out loud.
Was from Shep's.
Yeah, you do your girl. I can't. There are many portions of this book that I would never read out loud. Cannot.
Okay. So Shep goes, I consider her for a moment. Her perfect, thick, golden thighs peeking out from under that poncho. What I could do... I know she's wearing just
poncho
like a poncho
rules.
and just no
rules.
pants.
We've had them since the hating game, and she is not following them.
I don't even know if it's her poncho.
There are two times you can wear a poncho, ladies. When it's raining outside or when you are in and from a South American or Latin American country.
Yes.
You cannot just be a white girl in that country. You must be a part of the culture that the poncho belongs to. Or
that's right.
It's raining in Disney World. Those are the two times.
Right, but it also has to be like bright yellow or something.
Yeah,
you know?
like it has to be like a poncho location.
Pattern on it.
Disney World, made of the Miss Niagara Falls, something where ponchos are handed out for water.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Anyway,
capes are a different story. Capes are always okay.
Well, a capelet is a very specific.
Oh, a capelet.
Melanie loves a capelet.
I love a capelet.
Don't even get her started on capelets.
Okay.
Anyway, so these golden thighs are doing what?
I'm sorry. They're peeking out from under her poncho. What I could do with my fist wrapped around that long black hair, that mouth. I could fuck that mouth while I grip her long black hair. I think about her knees and what it would be like to have those big hazel eyes staring up at me while I come on her tits. And then she says, I also understand that you're doing the honorable thing and trying not to force your desires on me. But I think you have to respect me enough as a submissive and as a woman and a human being to believe me when I say this is what I want. I'm sorry, you guys. This is not the right inflection, but it is just so good.
It preaches to Melody's heart.
This
was written for Melody.
Every fucking word. Okay. So then it says, if this isn't something you want, I respect that too. She finishes. I can't. So then it goes back to his inner monologue. Fuck. She's got me there. I scrub my beard. Then I peel off my hat so I can scratch my head properly. She's looking at me. Waiting. I flip the switch. The Dom switch. All right, chapter motherfucking 7.
It's on. Chapter 7.
On. Okay. So he's like, all right, new plan. This is what he says. We go down the mountain for breakfast, and then I need to grab some condoms. We go to the lodges, and I fuck your brains out like I've been wanting to do for months. And if you still want to submit to me, you can check out of the lodges, follow me back up here with your rental car, and we'll make a week out of it. And then she's like, what if you're awful in bed, though? And he just says, well, then that's where we'll part ways.
But he's also kind of like, okay,
he's also
bitch.
like,
all right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I have a 10-inch long cock and it's like 5 inches wide. So like, no.
That's the one. Yeah. Like, let's not.
Actually, that would be a really weird looking member. Not 5 inches wide.
We're
that
not
would be
mathologists.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm not a math. Okay.
I can't.
We're not maths. All right.
Yeah.
It's big.
I don't do geometries. So
use geometry.
Yep. No, now penis physics. I might be able. Okay. Sorry. Back to it. Okay. And then you guys, they have a boundaries talk.
It's like written for her soul, you guys. She's like melting into her chair.
I'm melting the whole way. So he says, you can always tap out, but I don't want there to be any confusion before we get started. And she's like, deal, because you're the man of all of our dreams.
Yeah. And she's like, no masquerade masks, no crumbs. No Hershey syrup in this bed. Nothing touches the sheets.
That's not what she says at all.
Not.
She says, I want you to spank me a lot. I want you to choke me. I want you to tie me up. I want you to make me squirt if you think you can. Oh, challenge accepted. Am I right? I want to barely be able to walk whenever we're finished for the day. And anal, I say over my shoulder as I dry my hands with a clean dish towel. Absolutely. And flogging's all right, I assume? That catches her off guard, but she schools her expression before she goes on. I've never done that before, but if you're receptive to the word stop, then yes, we can try some flogging. You guys, I just can't. And then he does the next perfect thing.
Just take her
boobs out. Which is they go... First of all, he gets her any kind of breakfast food she wants.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And then it's tits out for breakfast.
Well, no, he takes her boobs out right there.
Oh my God, I forgot.
Remember, he takes her boobs out and then he like checks out her vagina for a little bit.
Oh, and then they have more boundaries talking while he's playing with her nipples, you guys.
And you guys, just for your situational awareness, since I've seen a lot of articles like this over the past year or so, her nipples are brown.
They are.
They're brown ones. Good
She's
brown
a black
ones.
woman.
Yes.
I don't think we've said that.
Oh, have we not?
No, we're
She's
dummies.
black.
She's black woman and her nipples are brown.
Yes.
Oh man. So then he says that he wants then he starts talking about what he wants. He's like, okay, I want you to beg, but you don't have to worry. Oh my God. He says, I want you to beg, but you don't have to worry about that too much either. I'll get you there. She goes, you seem so sure. She swallows again and holds back a sigh as I draw a finger over her right nipple. You seem pretty confident that I won't, but I'm barely touching you. And I bet if I check that sweet pussy of yours, you'll be soaking wet. Maybe you should check, she says. And then he goes, see, I barely touched you. Barely said a word, and already you're asking. Begging isn't far away. And she goes, I don't have a response for that. Guys, it just like the banter is so on point. Even when it's not sexy. It's so good. So then he reiterates the difference between submission and sadism, which is very important. He's like, what it sounds like you want is more in like the sadomasochistic realm. What I want is just like submission. We can meet in the middle kind of thing. And she's like, all right, cool. Guys, then it's tits out for breakfast.
Tits out for breakfast. Hashtag tits out for breakfast. Tits out for public breakfast. Tits out for breakfast in public.
At the diner.
At the only diner in town where everybody knows you. Tits out.
Oh, man.
And I know what you're thinking. How are tits out for breakfast? And the answer is because she's in the booth that faces the wall. Oh, but if anyone walks up to them, tits are out for breakfast. Your boobs are out in England.
No, he's on high alert the whole time in that England Times Garden.
Oh my God.
He's on high alert. There is a moment where Connie comes over and he's like, close your jacket. And she's like trying desperately to make sure her tits are back in. And he's like, I gave her way a lot of time. She's freaking out for no reason.
If my tits were out for breakfast, I would be turning around so much that everyone would see my tits. Like I would be unable to keep my cool. I would be like fully turned around looking over the booth, exposing myself to everyone to make sure that no one saw. That's how nervous I would be about tits out for breakfast.
Jeez. Anyway. So then once the food comes, he starts playing with them, including but not limited to taking ice cubes out of his water and like putting them all over her nipples.
Yes.
And I don't know how you focus on your meal at that point, but that's fine. I'm fine with it. Like I'm here for it.
And it should be said that she's very into this. She's very cool with
she's
this.
Like
she's not
she's like
freaked out by
hissing
this.
and no, not at all. And she's like, I don't think it's fair that you've seen my boobs and my pussy and I haven't seen that hard dick you talk about. And it goes, I release her nipple and lick water off my fingers before I turn back to my breakfast. Do you want to see my cock? Yeah, I do. Finish eating and we'll make that happen. I just. So then they go back to her cabin after breakfast.
Yes.
And you guys, it is on TM. He wants to kick the door open, but he waits for her to like use her key or whatever stupid thing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, then it's not, if he kicked it open, it would be unsecured.
I know. Then it wouldn't close. I know.
Yeah, logistics.
But like, I know. So he takes her inside. They're all like, they're just stripping off their clothes.
Fast.
Oh my gosh. Oh, she also says earlier that he doesn't need to go get condoms because she brought a whole bag of them.
Just in case.
And he's just like, I know. And he's like, I fucking love a woman who's prepared. This is incredible. So they get undressed. He sits down in a chair and he ushers her over. She sits down right on his cock. And
he takes
he's
out
like,
his
this
cock.
chair.
He's like, have a seat and points at it.
Yeah. Wait, before that, he's like, come over here because she flops down on the bed. And he's like, oh, you think you're not going to do any work at all? And she's like, I'm just waiting for instructions, which is obviously music to his ears. And so then she walks up to him and he's like, all right, stroke it. And so she hasn't she hasn't looked at it, ? Because he's like, is it enough for you? And she's like, oh yeah, it's more than enough. And then like after she touches his penis. So this is very similar to the kink I discovered when we read Priest.
Oh,
which is,
I did not read Priest with you. So go on.
Oh man. Which is, well, Jenny Nordback and I agreed on this. She discovered this kink about herself, I think, during this book as well. But
the idea that Jenny Nordback is still discovering kinks blows my mind. But yes.
I love it. I mean, yeah, you know, sometimes it's CB radios. Other times it's when the hero goes down on the heroine before he kisses her.
Oh, yes. You've told me of this one.
Yeah. And in this case, I just love the fact that he has played with her tits a bunch. Like, played with her tits for like 2 hours.
I think he poked her vagina a little bit, too. He did something back at the house.
He looked up at that up in there. He did. I don't think he touched, though.
Oh, okay.
No,
I thought he like poked around in there a little bit.
She started touching herself, and he's like, "Did I tell you that you could start touching yourself?" And she's like, "Oh no, you didn't." Okay, I'll get my hand off my clit immediately. I'm so sorry. Yeah, and in this case, he's played with her tits a bunch, and then he's like, "Stroke it, touch my dick," and afterwards he kisses her. It's super hot. Anyway, they start having sex on the chair, the chair breaks. He knows it's going to break. So he like catches himself in this like sumo squat that's really fucking hot. And then he takes her over to the bed and he puts her down. And then her knees end up on her chest because he says, you guys, he says that he needs to go deep. He needs to make sure she knows exactly what she's signing up for. She comes like a freight train. It's like a G-spot orgasm of her wildest dreams. I don't even know, man. And then within like, I think 30 seconds of them coming down from both their orgasms, he's like, so what do you think?
Yeah.
Are you going to submit to me? Are you like leaving?
Am I good at sex?
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So they check out and they go back up to his house. And this was so cute. Titus is super excited to see them.
Wait, first, when they drive up to the mountain, he drives super slow and she follows him. And she says, I would tease you for driving like a grandpa. And then you know what he says?
Oh, what does he say, Erin?
He says, safety first. Ooh.
Oh, safety first. Erin got so wet.
Safety with Erin.
That's right.
Yes.
You got to be careful on those winding mountain roads.
Yeah, he's not going to leave a fire burning in that fireplace because he knows about fire safety and roadway safety.
Oh,
my
he
heart
cleans
beats
his
for
chimney
Shep.
every year.
Oof, yes.
He's not going to have a flue fire. There's no fucking way. Not in Shep's house.
Get those
Tell you
vents
what.
clean. You don't want a spark in the dryer land. All right.
His oil is always changed, you guys.
Oh, you guys, they never changed my oil.
Erin!
Oh my God. Sometimes the little lamp has to come on. The little Aladdin lamp.
First.
The Aladdin lamp is like, your car is dying for real. It's the worst. Car safety,
Erin,
like car maintenance
genie.
safety is something I can't.
Wow. All right. Okay. Sorry, we got off track. So,
that was on track. That was a segment. Jeez.
It was. Sorry.
Safety
so Titus is so excited to see them. It is. It's a long-standing,
I'll say it's off
very
track when you're
legitimate
doing
segment.
health and wellness sex condoms with Melody.
Dude. Yes. Health and wellness sex condoms.
Yeah.
With Melody.
That's not off track. All right.
Nope.
Okay. So they get back up to Titus is so excited to see her.
He is. And the phrasing is, he's always glad to see me, but he's been hyper as a bag of dicks since Claudia showed up. You had that
same thing. Hyper as a bag of dicks. What a great phrase.
So good.
Bags of dicks
Rebekah.
are hyper.
Ah, you're a genius. Okay. So Mabel is up there, his neighbor, and she's like brought him food, but it's mostly because she found out that there's a bitch in his house. And she's like, hey, there's a bitch in your house.
I'm here to meddle. I'd like to meddle.
Yeah.
What's up with this bitch in your house?
It's been 3 years since there's been a bitch in your house.
Are you sleeping with this bitch in your house?
That's right.
And he's like, I'm a grown man. And she says, no, you're not. You're just tall.
I have that too.
It's been highlighted by 13 other people. You're apparently one of them.
I mean,
thanks, Kendall.
Obviously. Immediate. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so then he gets back inside the house and she's on the phone because her BFF has called and is like, what is actually happening?
Yes.
So then on first read, because I've read this book twice, on first read, I thought that Liz was a lot. No. And then on second read, I was like, oh no, this is just being a good friend.
Melody.
Yes.
If you got nearly murdered by a serial killer on vacay in northern Oregon.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, where are we?
And then you appeared away from me and told me you were going on a day trip. And then it was like day fucking 3. You better bet I would be on the phone with this guy who murdered a dude who you don't fucking know. Like, the level of ill-advised that this trip is psychologically.
Yeah. Liz is also a lawyer.
Safety-wise. Oh, yeah. Oof. Oh, yeah. You better bet. And that's for you. That's for you, Melody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, thank you. When I am...
She's not
and
alive.
This was... Yeah, fair. And Shep immediately understands.
Yes.
And he's like, you need a picture of my ID? Done.
Safety
you want a
first.
selfie to make sure everybody's okay? Done.
Safety.
You want to know my goddamn middle name and what color my poop was this morning? Absolutely.
Brown.
I'll give you... So
I hope.
he does all of that.
Otherwise, Shep is weird.
Okay. Or he might have eaten corn. Who knows?
Still brown, except for those corns. Are we going to make an episode where we don't talk about farts or poop?
No.
Is it going to happen?
Not. I don't think, like, this is the ladies we are. I don't know.
That should be our slogan for 2020. No poop in 2020.
Oh, no, we can't do it. Okay, so then when she comes back into the room, he's like, hey, that's really fucked up. And she's like, I kind of don't, okay. And he's like, no, I'm serious. We're sending her flowers. Like, when I'm in my darkest places, I still need to know that there are people out there who love me and care about me. Like, you gotta pull it together,
Yeah, he means that it's fucked up that she didn't tell her friend where she was, not that it's fucked up that her friend wants a photo of his driver's license, which is valid.
No, that is.
She takes a nap-a-rooney.
Yeah, she takes a nap. And then when she wakes, she's like, I need a shower.
Oh, yeah, the shower. I was going to skip right to the food.
No, the shower is important because
it is. It's plot important.
Yeah, it is. So as he's showing her, he's like, do you want me to join you? She looks me up and down for a moment. Is it about what I want now, sir? I feel myself getting hard and irritated. This is all about what you want. You'll see that. Which is like, first of all, good dom sub situations, like, that's true.
Yes.
Sub is always in control. Second of all, this has to do with his sordid backstory.
Yes.
His tragic past. Because
justice. For
no,
just
Sarah can fuck right off.
Just a little justice.
Not an electron, Erin.
All right.
So she asks if she needs to beg, and he's like, nope, I'm irritated, so like I can't take her like this, like I can't do it. So he's like, he very gruffly tells her to like get washed up and ready for dinner. And then he's like, fuck, I'm screwing this up already.
Join me for dinner.
You won't join me for dinner. So he goes outside and gets some air. And when he comes back in, she's getting dressed. And she's like, did I do something wrong? Like, what the fuck is going on?
I couldn't help but notice you didn't fuck me in the shower. It's very upsetting.
Jeez. So he tells her all about Sarah. He's like, my ex used to sort of mouth off to me like that. And it just reminded me of her because we were together for a really long time. I was like fixing to propose. I was going to redo my office to be a nursery. Like, it was a whole thing. And then I found out afterwards that she was just pretending to like the submission thing. And she couldn't do it anymore. And she told everybody what I'm into and fucked off with a guy she met online.
Bing bong, bird chirp. Bird click.
I can't. Fine, tell me
the last
what
two
misguided reasoning.
The last two things. Unexcusable. No justification. Horrible. Sarah's a monster. Of telling everybody his business and like fucking off with some guy she met on the internet upon breaking up with him. Horrible. Also a monster to like pretend to be into things that you're not into. However, I can understand a situation where you're like very in love with a guy and you're trying very hard to be into the things that he's into and you don't feel comfortable saying if you're trying to be into it. And I kind of feel like Sarah was in this place where she really wanted Shep and she really wanted to be the person that he wanted her to be in the bedroom. Yeah. And I can see a situation where she got stuck there and didn't know what to do about it and didn't know how to like get agency in the situation. And it's not Shep's fault, but I don't know that that's Sarah's fault either. You know, if she just didn't have the confidence to like do anything about it for a while, but she really did love Shep.
I definitely agree with you on all of that.
The other shit though, monster. Telling everybody on the mountain that he's like an abusive, like dominant asshole who like to tie her up or whatever. Bullshit. But I do see getting trapped in a situation like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, but like, and I am a verbal processor, right? So I understand the impulse to want to talk to your friends about whatever. But in a super small town like that, like you get yourself a therapist who legally can't tell anybody else. and you process it with that person. The fact that like everybody thinks that he's like some hermit monster who lives up on the mountain and everybody's scared of him after she breaks up with him.
That's bullshit.
And like
it's
leaves
horrible.
him.
It's horrible.
So not okay.
No.
Not an electron. The first part, fine.
Yeah.
Like I can definitely see where you're coming from there. And if it had just been that, if it had just been she was, what does Dan Savage say? It's the price of admission.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was trying to be GGG.
Yeah, she's trying to pay the price of admission. She's trying to do it for him. And if you've said, I'm okay with doing it, I'm into this, I'm good, and then you find out that you're not, I can see getting into a space where you can't bring yourself to tell your partner.
Yeah, because it's because you know it's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
You know that like that's probably the end of the relationship.
Yeah.
That's really, really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The rest of it though, how fucking dare you?
Just a kernel of justice for Sarah. That's all. I just wanted to.
No.
A quark of justice. Right. A quack
Not
of justice. A schmurger of justice for Sarah. Okay.
Okay, so then she's like, all right, you don't think I'm sincere. I get that. If you knew that I was super into it, what would you do right now? And he's thinking to himself, I mean, hypotheticals don't hurt anyone. So he says that he would tell her to get down on her knees and he would fuck her face. And so she immediately gets down on her knees because she's still naked from her shower. It's brilliant.
Uh-huh.
And then we get the sloppiest, messiest, hottest blowjob. It's a really good blowjob from both his perspective and her perspective.
Coming from her mouth all over her chest.
Yeah, you can't swallow. Like, you can't try to swallow,
I understand the logistics, Bing Boong Bong Melody. I get how drool happens. However, I have very rarely read a romance novel that describes the drool.
I loved it.
I liked it too. I mean,
fucking
and
loved
I also
it.
liked that it wasn't this one, but maybe the next one where he addressed it. Oh, it was the ball gag where he's like, listen, you're going to drool with this in.
Don't try to stop it.
Don't stop it. Don't worry about it. Because I can also see if she's not done that before, being very embarrassed by this situation. You know, it's like he did a really good job of shepherding her through this.
Oh, nope.
Would you like to listen to a paragraph?
I would, always.
I know he means business when he says this is the only way he can do things. I don't want to freak Shep out by letting him know that I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. She's never done this particular thing. You have it highlighted as well?
Yep.
I don't want to scare him off. I want him to fuck me. I want him to show me what he needs, especially since he's already given me exactly what I need. Focus, attention, a touch that isn't hesitant or incomplete. We made a deal. He wants me on my knees. He's got me on my knees.
Oh.
Yeah.
So good.
So it's really good.
So it's super good. And then as he's like putting his dick back in his pants, she starts touching herself. And he's like, oh, you want to come? And he picks her up by her hair. So hot. Walks her by her hair to the bedroom. And then he immediately goes down on her. It is so good. And then after she comes, though, he stands up and he says, finish cleaning up. And then he leaves the room.
There was a part of that where he just kind of like threw a rag at her and was like, finished cleaning up, where I was like, ooh, that's pretty sexy. But like, I realized in real life it wouldn't be, but like reading about it, I was like, clean yourself up.
Whoa.
In real life, I would be like, excuse me? But like
on
the page, I was like,
yeah, it was really good. It worked for me here. Okay, but then he realizes how it came off. And so after he cooks her a super yummy dinner, he cooks her like garlic butter steak or something. So good with like mashed potatoes and like a salad. Yeah. There was a salad involved that I could talk about for a little bit. It's very fresh. I know.
It was a marinade.
It's so fresh.
It was great.
The steak was marinated. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so he, though, is like, how are you feeling? And she's like, I'm feeling good. That was excellent. I really liked that. And he goes, well, I'm feeling really guilty because there's this thing called aftercare and I did not do any with you. I just threw a rag at you and said, finish cleaning up and then fucked off.
True.
It is. Like, he should feel bad about this because it's not the way you're supposed to do things. So he's like, there are rules. I didn't mean to. Yeah. And so then she's like, well, what's your plan for the rest of the night? After she reassures him that she's totally fine. Right. And he reassures her that he's going to do better from now on. He's like, well, I guess that we gotta shop for some toys and other stuff because, oh boy. And then upon biting into her steak, she wonders what was wrong with Sarah because he's, in fact, the perfect man. And I can't say that I disagree, frankly.
She didn't like being a submissive.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be... The price was too high, right?
Yeah.
But it works for Claudia,
yes.
So she's mystified,
yes.
You know? Okay, so then during dinner, he takes Titus out, and he comes back to her like in a like mid-meltdown. She's freaking out because he wasn't in the house with her. She's like scared, and she's also scared because she's feeling really dependent on him.
Right.
And she's like, I know that I need to face my issues, but it feels so good to be around you. I feel like I'm addicted. I feel like this is what a crackhead would feel like, I think is the actual phrasing. And then she says that, you have all this highlighted
what she
too?
wants?
Yeah, go ahead. No,
okay.
not yet. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Because she says, instead of like looking my monster in the eye and even assessing it for any weaknesses, I just want to hop on a treadmill and run away and like hope that you're on the treadmill with me. And he looks at her and he says, I'm already on the treadmill with you. Oh, the healing.
They're battling
treadmill.
The same demons together.
They are
with bondage
sexily.
sex.
Oh, it's so yummy. Okay, yeah. Do you want to read what she wants, or do you want me to read what she wants? Is this something you can read?
You should read it.
Okay. So
I feel
he
like
keeps asking her.
You know this voice.
I don't know if I agree with that, but you know.
I would cast you in this role. Go for it.
Fair.
Let's do a line
just keep
reading.
Some mystery alive, shall we,
Sorry.
Erin? Okay. So he keeps asking her to tell him what she wants and what she needs, and she won't do it. And then finally she breaks down and she goes, I want you to hurt me. I want you to degrade me. I want you to turn me into a nothing little slut and then build me back up again. I want to feel something that isn't this for as long as possible. I need something to break. I need something in me to finally shatter. I couldn't get myself there at home, and everyone around me was all about pushing me forward. But you can give me this. I know you can. It still doesn't make it okay for me to ask you to do it. And, oh boy. And so, guys, he just walks over and gets himself a bungee cord. And then he ties up her hands behind her back. And then he grabs a pair of scissors and he's like, I hope you don't like this outfit. And he cuts her fucking clothes off.
Wait.
He just opens them in all the right places. Go ahead, Erin.
When he says, I hope you don't like this sweater, he starts cutting before she can say anything.
She doesn't need to say anything.
But, like, what if that's her favorite sweater?
She can get a new one. Oh, Erin is not about it.
I would be angry if somebody cut my clothes off and did not ask me first.
Yeah, fair.
What if it's her favorite sweater?
I don't know.
What if that's the sweater that Miles gave her? Miles is the brother, for her birthday last year, and that's the last thing he ever gave her.
Well, I think that she would have said something when she saw the scissors.
I don't know.
Like, what else is he doing with the scissors, if not super sexily cutting off all of my clothes?
She seems pretty fucking surprised when he starts cutting her sweater off.
Whatever.
Anyway, if you are a man listening to this, or a woman who likes to cut actually anyone listening to this, ask permission before you cut clothes off. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, you want to know what he does with the leggings, you guys? He just cuts himself a hole.
Just a hole.
It's so good.
It's the leggings of Melody's dreams. And if you don't understand that, what episode was that? Crotchless leggings episode.
I think that was a Tiffany Rice. That was, I think, her Halloween treat, maybe?
Very early episode. Melody talked a lot about crotchless leggings in a way that we thought
it was my lady love.
That no one would listen to the podcast.
Oh, yeah. I was like, should I cut this out? Because I don't think anyone will listen to the podcast. Turns out it was the moment that a lot of people were like, I found my people.
All right.
Okay. All right. So then he tells her to get down on her knees, and he walks from the kitchen onto the couch, and then he's like, come over here on your knees. So she grouses the whole way. She's like, I'm going to fucking bite you when I get over there.
And he can just see the top of her head bouncing behind the... He's like, I know she's pissed at me, but I see the top of her head like bobbing up and down as she like over on her knees,
trudges
around
over
the kitchen island. Oh, I loved it. It was so funny.
Yep.
She's like, I'm going to bite you when I get over there.
I loved it. So then she's kneeling in front of him. He picks her up to go get a condom and then picks her back up and takes her back to the couch to be in the exact same position. It's so funny. And then he takes his cock out and he's like, it's not going to suck itself. And I was here for it.
Then he puts a condom on and he's like, there you go. I wrapped it up. Take a seat.
That's right. Take a seat. Oh, man.
And then she says, I've changed my mind. She's a little coy.
Yeah.
I don't really want to anymore. I would rather play a board game. Do you have any? And he fucks that right out of her.
And he goes, oh, yeah? Because he can tell that she's joking.
Yeah,
like,
she's
there's
joking.
no... Yeah, it's not anything that made my consent hackles go up at all. And so he, like, just forces her down onto his cock. And she's like, oh, man. And... oh, man, there's a little bit of a finger inside the asshole situation happening.
That happens.
Oh, it is delightful. And so then the next morning, he asks her to come with him when he takes Titus out because he doesn't want her freaking out again because he's so conscientious. He remembered. And he was like, you should come with me, even though it's like 5 in the goddamn morning.
Mm-hmm. That's when they do little icebreaker questions in the woods. It's very cute.
It is so sweet.
So they can learn more about each other.
Yeah, he's like, we should talk about what happened, like what capital H happened.
Yes.
But we should balance it out with these sweet icebreakers. And then they go back to the house and watch TV. He interrupts that with a little bit of oral. Mm-hmm. I mean, perfect man. And then he's got her bent over the couch. And you guys, are in flagrante delicto when a pounding comes on the door.
How he says, bend over the couch, slut. Was all about it.
I know. And I love the fact it's a little bit, it's like borderline campy. Because he's like, I say bend over the couch, slut, just to add a little flavor.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's from his perspective. And she's being like a little brat because she was like, you turned off my show and they get married in this episode. And he's like, bend over the couch, you slut. And she's like, I'm doing this, but I'm also like... It's really funny because out loud she's saying,
it's really cute,
I want to watch my show. But then also she's like, as she did this, as she did that, like as she took off her clothes.
As she hops around the couch to gleefully bend over.
Then there's a knock on the door.
Yeah. So he tosses her back over the couch and covers her with the blanket. It's so good. Then he goes ass naked over to the door. And Jad, the male partner of this neighbor situation, is like, I need a chainsaw. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And then he invites them over to dinner because they're both a little concernicus.
And
then they have such adorable banter and chemistry about like dumb TV shows and taking a long time to get ready and like the cutest stuff. And he's very much like very gruff out loud. And she just feeds it right back to him. And it's just so lovely. Anyway,
I just want to say the way Rebekah Weatherspoon writes this is so great because we don't have to actually sit there and watch them talk about boring stuff. Here's what she does.
No. Yeah.
She has the nerve to say that she would make the perfect vampire, and I tell her she's clearly not patient enough for immortality, and that launches us into a whole discussion about how she's pretty sure I'm actually a werewolf, and the remote mountain home is just an elaborate cover. She's pretty deep into how she thinks Titus is actually my cousin who can't change back into his human form when I realize how much I like listening to her talk about this kind of nonsensical shit. I can listen to her talk about just about anything. That could have taken 10 pages of shit I didn't give a shit about, but instead it took 1 paragraph. Thank you, Rebekah.
And we got an insight into his feelings for her at the same time.
Masterful. Great.
It's so good.
Congratulations. All right.
Yeah. So then they go to dinner. It starts out fine. It takes a quick left turn into Disaster Town. Jad is like, everybody here needs to have several seats. You have not had a lady up to your cabin. They keep talking about having visitors.
Yeah.
It's like, and he's just like, stop treating me like I'm some sort of serial killer. I just shared something about myself with the woman that I loved, and she spread it all over town as if I'm some sort of villain.
Right.
And I can have anybody over at my house that I want. And like, this is not appropriate, you know? And Jad, it's kind of sad because there's a moment where he's like, we want something for you that's healthy and safe and wonderful. And like, having the woman that you murdered someone for 6 months ago over at your house to fuck for a week doesn't seem like the best start.
Fair.
And like, he's not wrong.
It's maybe not a conversation to have in front of Claudia.
Certainly not. Yeah, I wouldn't call that dinner conversation.
Maybe,
you know,
but just not in front of her. I feel like it's weird. She's sitting right there.
Yeah. So anyway, he's like, we're leaving. Goodbye. And when they go back to the house, he's like quiet and a little tense, and she talks him down. And they end up having this really sweet night where he snuggles her and they like get totally naked and she lays on top of him and they snuggle for a really long time. Then they go to bed, like after some pretty fun sex.
Yes.
They go to bed and she wakes up in the middle of the night from a bad dream, but she doesn't freak out because he's right there and Titus is right there. And instead she just grabs her phone and texts with her best friend for a little while. And then he comes to the door and he's like, hey, do you want to come back to bed? Like, is everything okay? And she goes back to bed and she's like, this is where my ex-boyfriend would have like asked me a bunch of stupid questions, or, you know, I would have just like blew him to shut him up or whatever. But he doesn't do any of that. He just snuggles her again.
Well, not that, because he wasn't even accepting blowjobs apparently in the last however many months.
Yeah, exactly.
So she says, I like being here with you. And he squeezes her tighter. And then she says, can I tell you I love you even if I know I don't mean it all the way yet? And he's like, yeah, if you have that caveat, yeah. And she says, I love you. And he says, I love you too.
Oh.
Just very sweet, but like also like, I don't know what they mean. What is she trying to say? I love you, but I don't like really mean it. I didn't quite get it, but I thought it was very sweet.
I think so too. What I got from it was like, she's not sure that she like capital L is romantically in love with him, but she's feeling so many intense feelings that the only thing she can approximate it to is capital L romantic love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, throughout his inner monologue, we haven't really said it, but he's been dropping a lot of hints that like there are things he can't tell her too, which is his really, really strong feelings for her. So I don't know. This is so sweet.
Yes.
Anyway, so Sunday they wake up and they just like decide to have kind of a lazy day.
Wait, no, it's after this where they have sex and he doesn't like let her finish.
Yeah,
I thought you'd have a lot to say about that.
I do.
No? Okay.
No, I do. We're going to there now.
Oh, no, I thought it was right after that. It was the next day?
Yeah, it was the next day. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, because they spend the whole day hanging out and like not having sex. And he checks in with her and he's like, do you still want to submit to me this week? And she's like, yes, I do. So he tells her that the game plan is like, we're going to finish out the week or the weekend.
Right.
And then Monday, we're going to spend the day together, go down to town, get all the like the box of fun stuff that we ordered. And he asks her for a safe word. And then he's like, listen, I am realizing some things about myself, and that is that I really, really like being with you, and I am not used to you mouthing off. I'm used to having like a submissive who knows what's going on and who like lives that lifestyle. And so I really like you mouthing off, but I also know that you need to be punished for it. And I think I've figured out something that isn't like a backhanded punishment for myself too. Right. Yeah. So go ahead.
Wait. What do you mean? Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about it.
I thought I didn't have much of a problem with it, but every time in the past when somebody hasn't let somebody else have an orgasm, you have gone into like a mindless rage. And so I just kind of assumed that you were going to go into like a mindless rage. Is that not the case?
No, I think this hero broke me.
I think your only hard limit is not having an orgasm. Is that not the case?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. No, I have other hard limits. Thank you very much.
Well, he's kind of she's like, "Aren't we going to finish?" And he's like, "We are finished. I'm going to bed." And she's like, "No, we're not finished." And he's just kind of like tough cookies. And he's like, and like very smugly goes to sleep.
Well, because he like goes down on her for a little while and then he's like flip over and then he uses her juices as lubricant to masturbate and comes all over her back. And then she's like, "Oh, okay, so now it's my turn, right?" And he's like, "Nah."
Right.
And she's like begging him.
Uh-huh.
And he just says, "Shh, I got you." He licks the side of my mouth. "Just hold tight." And yeah, no, he just doesn't. It's over. It's over.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, and then he keeps on whispering "soon," which I think I would lose my mind about. Like, absolutely lose my mind. Like, when is soon? You know?
I need to know the time of day that this is going to finish up.
Yeah.
But then the next day they go out into the forest. Mm-hmm. Isn't that the next day? Okay, so
no. Wait.
Oh, okay.
Is this the climactic forest scene you're talking about?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
We have
what
to
happens
have
first?
The climactic bondage sex first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they go down into town and they get their box of goodies and they spend the whole day together and it's really fucking sweet. And then they come back up to the house and he unpacks everything. They're going through all the toys. He's explaining everything that he purchased. I don't know. So he chooses, what does he choose? He chooses the rope.
Ball gag, rope, and
the ball
flogger.
Gag, and a butt plug.
Oh, yeah. And then she has the flogger? No, she has the butt plug. He does rope, ball gag, flogger. And then she puts a huge metal butt plug with a jewel on the bottom.
Yeah.
And adds it to the stack, kind of like demurely, like, pop.
Maybe.
And then he's like, "Have you ever had one of these in before?" And she's like, "No." But like clearly she's done anal before because she says earlier in the like she's very cool with anal. And you would think if it was her first time, she would have said something about that in the limits discussion.
Especially considering his monster cock.
Right. Yeah. And so he's like, "Why don't we back it up on the huge metal one with the jewel on the bottom and try this smaller silicone one?" And she's like, "Well, why'd you even buy it?" And he's like, "Because I thought it would look nice in your butt."
Yeah, I thought we'd both really like seeing a jewel come out of your asshole. It's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. We do have to back up. I skipped one part that I have to say out loud. I'm sorry. When they're at dinner, they're eating, and they're like...
Oh, tits out dinner?
Oh, yes. I think it was a tits out dinner. No. So she's talking about Sarah, and she's like, oh, because they run into Sarah. And she and Sarah make like very polite girl meanness at each other. Like it's very much we're not saying anything mean and yet we both know that neither of us are okay with each other kind of situation.
Right.
Anyway, so he's like, that was kind of weird, like what happened back there. So they're talking about that. And then she goes, "No, I know it's none of my business per se, but I don't like what she did to you. You might only be mine for a limited time, but you're still mine, and you don't fuck with what's mine," she says with a little shake of her head. And he just switches the subject and he goes, "You need a moment with the menu, I ask?" "Yeah, give me a sec." She flips it over, unzips her jacket, and then she pulls her shirt up and pulls her tits out of her bra. "Okay, let's see. How's the BLT?" "I know she's leaving at the end of the week, but in that moment, I want to marry Claudia Deja Cade." It's amazing. Okay, so anyway, back to the climactic bondage sex. So he's got like hooks rigged up to his cabin from when he and Sarah were living together. So he's been like, testing them to make sure they're still sturdy. He has her go take a shower. And when he goes in there, he starts explaining to her what's going to happen. And she's really quiet and she's pretty subdued. And he's like, "I know that there's a lot going on in her head right now. And frankly, that's good. I'm not going to try to pull her out of it." And then he leads her back into the main, I almost said the main cave area.
I know where your mind is.
I know, right? He leads her back into like the main area, and he starts explaining to her how he's going to tie her up. He ties her up so that her arms are up, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're either up or out, but they're like up out. You know what I mean? Like a Y.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the flogger. He pretty much immediately puts in the butt plug.
Yeah.
And there's, oh my God, and then the ball gag. I forgot about the ball gag.
Yeah.
And this is where he like ushers her through. And he's like, okay, so I know you've never done this before. Don't try to swallow. You're going to drool everywhere. It's totally fine. It's the normal thing that happens. Like, do not fight that. Otherwise, it's not going to be comfortable.
Right.
And he tells her, since she has the ball gag in, how she can indicate that he should stop if anything needs to.
Right.
Yeah. And then he does some pretty good flogging. And doesn't she come just from the flogging?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so too, which I don't think I've ever encountered in a romance novel, but
it's nice.
It certainly worked for me.
Yes. And then after he does all the aftercare, he massages her head to toe. He wraps her up in like a little burrito.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. The second time she comes is because he actually, before this, she had been saying in her head, like, I don't want to use condoms anymore. And he picks up on that and he's like, you don't want me to use the condom? And she's like, yeah, but like not in the stupid way because they're having vaginal sex.
Right.
And so this time he has anal with her.
Right.
And I don't think he uses a condom, but like that's already been discussed. Anyway.
Yes.
It's really super good. And then afterwards, yeah, he also bought some massage oil.
Yes. All the way to her fingers and her toes, he massages her. And then after that, she feels a little weird, like she's coming down off of something. Like the next day, she's just feeling a little off, like, and he's just kind of giving her space.
Well, during aftercare, she's sobbing.
Right.
And then he explains subspace to her, that like she went to a deep, like, psychological, space. And so she's coming off of that. And then I forget, oh fuck, what's it called?
I want to say it was like sub-drop or something like that.
Yes, sub-drop. That's exactly it. So the next day, well, it's kind of like, after you get drunk or like maybe after you do Molly or something. Yeah. It's very similar.
It's like all your
sort of like a hangover.
Wiped out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't even, I'm sorry. I'm so upset that I didn't take notes on that scene. I was like reading it. So I was so riveted that I couldn't take notes. And now I feel like I didn't give them the full spectrum of how good that bondage
No, that's
scene
fine.
was.
But it was really good. It was good. And then he takes care of her. And then the next day, she's just feeling a little bit like the sub-drop thing. Mm-hmm. And they go out to the woods on a little hike. Yeah. And the first thing that happens is she sees a couple, an Asian man and a black woman. And they kind of give them advice on like where to go and stuff. And it makes her feel a little bit uneasy. I don't know if it's because she saw somebody who reminded her of herself and she was thinking about herself when she was walking out here and the killer attacked her. I don't know if it's because they encountered another person out there and she didn't expect to.
Yeah, I think it was just that she remembered that other people could be there, in that area.
The author took care to say that they ran into another black woman. That's why I thought maybe there's like some kind of significance to that. Like she was like, oh, there's another woman out here that's like, defenseless.
I didn't even notice that.
I don't know. Maybe she saw herself in her in some way. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, it throws her off. And then they take some pictures and stuff. And because he's a photographer for the Forest Service. And then he's like,
and
hey, after this.
Like walks away. And so he starts taking pictures of her.
Yeah. And so he says, hey, after this, I want to have sex with you up against that tree. And she's like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. Mm-hmm. But when it actually comes to it, they're having sex against the tree. And she just starts having a full-scale panic attack because she's out in the woods.
And she can't stop looking at his gun. Yeah. His gun is leaning up against a tree. Yes.
The gun is far away. She knows she's like worried.
Vulnerable.
Yeah. And she's just like, stop. I can't. Of course, he stops immediately. And she's like, I need you to have your gun in your hands. Like, I just need to stop right now. And like, she has a full scale freak out.
And then she starts sprinting back to the house.
Yeah.
It's a full run. And so he is I mean, he's beside himself. He's like, what the fuck just happened? How can we take care of this? And once she gets back to the house, she's within his Wi-Fi range. And so her cell phone rings, right? And Liz calls.
Right. Well, Liz has been texting her off the hook.
Yes.
Bzz, 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 bzz.
Yes.
And it's because she got this like crazy great job. She had left her job as a fashion merchandiser for one place. And I guess Liz ran into like some famous fashion person and mentioned that Claudia had left her job. And famous fashion person was like, ooh, I want to snatch her up.
Mm-hmm. So Liz is like, be by your phone because I think this lady's going to call like now.
Mm-hmm.
So then Shep comes up and he's got this weird look in his face because he's trying to figure out what happened and he can't talk to her. And then her phone rings and she gets offered basically the job of her dreams at this new place. And the lady's like, listen, I want to give you this job, but I need you I need you back here tomorrow. And so it happens immediately. She's like, I'm going to patch you over to my assistant. She's going to take care of your travel arrangements. Like, let's make this happen. So she gets off the phone and doesn't know how to tell him any of this.
Yeah. And they just get in a big old fight that really feels real from both sides, but it's hard to read.
Yeah. Well, because he's like trying to figure out what's going on and he's talking to her about outside and she's like, she can't really even explain what happened outside.
Right.
And then she's like, hey, P.S., I have to go. And so I have to cut her a week short.
But she also says, she's like, I've got to go to take this big job. But like, also, why haven't you asked me to stay? And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, she's just in this total irrational place.
Yeah. And what I love about her is that every time she's there, she's like, and the next thing I want to say out loud is completely selfish and irrational and not okay. So I'm trying not to say it. And And that's when she's like, why aren't you upset about this? Why aren't you asking me to stay? And he's like, oh, like, it's sort of a situation where he's like, and where was your phone number on the letter that you wrote me? Like, you didn't.
Exactly.
What would happen if I said, please stay? You would just tell me, no, this is my dream job. Like, no, of course I'm not going to ask you to stay.
Right.
Yeah. So then he goes off and man, it's so good.
And he goes off on this thing of like, hey, that guy's dead that tried to kill you and your brother, and you still don't feel safe with me. You want me to have a gun in my hand all the time? Like, I'm not always going to have a gun in my hand all the time. Like, you need to work through this. And he ends this whole monologue by telling her that he loves her.
Yeah. Yeah, he says that he's trying to work through this retroactive bloodlust that he has because he knows he would do it again. He says, I'd kill anyone who tried to hurt you, but you still don't feel safe with me. And she's like, that's not it. And then she goes, you're off the hook. Like, you saved my life. You're off the hook. And he shouts, I love you.
Right.
And my chest feels like it snaps so hard. My mouth clamps shut. And then he goes, I love you, he says again. And that's not your fault. That's all on me.
Yeah.
But it's true. And I am definitely on the hook. Oh. Yeah. So then she leaves.
They go to the airport. And she just texts him, hey, my plane's taking off. And then that's it. And when he's thinking about it, he says he doesn't hear from her again. And he thinks, my dick isn't a magic wand. This is what we always talk about in these books.
Yes.
Of like, somebody has a psychological issue. And then all of a sudden there's a magic penis that solves their psychology problem. Right. And I was really worried that was going to happen in this book. Mm-hmm. But then he thinks to himself, my dick isn't a magic wand. I wasn't going to save her. I wasn't going to heal her with my kisses or however much I decided to jizz all over her back. I sure as fuck wasn't going to fix myself. And as crude as that paragraph is,
God, it's just perfect.
It's also very insightful and very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's months, right? Before he hears from her again.
It's like 4 months, I think.
Yeah,
and we see both of them like coping a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he makes up with Maybelle and Jad, and it's really good. Like, that's a really good section too.
Yeah. She also talks to Liz. Liz, kind of the friend, she kind of tells her to go out there after really talking it through, going through all the details with her.
Yeah, and like all the pictures of them together, like their beautiful selfies and blah. Yeah. It's so sweet. And then it still doesn't happen for a really long time because our girl needs to get her ducks in a row.
Yes.
And so it says, the morning of the third Saturday in December, I get a phone call. And it's Connie once again from the diner. God bless Connie. Connie knows everyone. Connie knows all. Anyway, Claudia's back.
So he's like, what the fuck could she possibly be doing here? And then he realizes, oh, she's definitely pregnant. That's what happened.
Yeah.
She's pregnant, and that's why she's back. So, like, when he walks into the diner and she's standing there looking, by the way, fierce, full face makeup, new manicure, total designer, Gucci, everything. Now that she's, like, famous fashion person. And the first thing he says is, like, what, are you pregnant? What's going on?
Well, yeah, because he's
funny.
pissed. And I get that. And he's, like, Mr. Cranky Pants anyway. Like, on a good day, he's Mr. Gruff Cranky Pants.
Right.
So... Anyway, she takes him back to their booth, and I love them because she's like, hey, I have a plan. This is my plan. I want to be with you. I realized that while I was getting my shit together and getting this new job, I want to be with you for real. And he sort of reacts in this really angry way. And she goes, what, do I need to get my tits out? Like, will that be better if we have this conversation in our booth with my tits out? And he's like, Jesus, God, no, you put those tits, you keep them. I got to be able to think straight. It's so cute.
Stop it with your tits out.
Gah. Yeah. And so she is just like, listen, I already told my job that we're getting married. We don't actually have to do that. But like, I was just making sure they knew I was serious about this. Right. She sets it up so that she can do 2 weeks in the office and then 2 weeks remote out in their beautiful sex cabin. And she's like, I really want to build a life with you. And also I don't want to have kids right now, but if you're open to it, I think you would be an amazing stay-at-home dad in 4 or 5 years. And he's just like scowling at her. And this keeps going and going and going. And then finally he just gets up and he goes to the front door, and then he pauses, and she's like obviously crying in the booth, or like just about to cry or something. He pauses and she turns around and he goes, what, are you coming or not?
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. And the book,
and that's
pretty
the end.
much, it ends with him going, I can't believe you think that I would, I've got protein and carbs up at my house. I don't know why I would wait more hours to fuck my future wife. Like, we should just go do that now.
I should. It just reminded me the end of this book. Trigger warning, scar kissing. And I think I'm the only one that needs that trigger warning. But there is scar kissing in this book. For anyone out there who may need to know that, because scar kissing grosses me out, as we learned in Breast Cancer Survivor and the Beast. What was the actual name of that book?
That was it.
That was Christmas on Crimson Mountain.
On Crimson Mountain, yes.
Yes. Underrated episode, you guys. I think our least listened to episode, which is a shame because it's one of my favorites.
It is an underrated episode, yeah.
Oh, that bitch chopping vegetables, or like letting those kids chop those vegetables.
All that child neglect. I can't.
God, it's so funny.
Oh man, Erin.
Yes.
I loved this thing.
I did too.
I loved it. I loved that it started out with Kiss the Girls, and then it got sexy.
4 to finish. Chapter 4 to finish. I loved it.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
I loved it even then, because you know I'm a sucker for some serial killers. You know it.
Oof.
I know.
Oof.
All right, Erin, what's your lady love this week?
Do you remember when my lady love was the terrible Canadian film Little Italy, starring
Yes,
Hayden
I watched
Christensen?
it. Did I tell you that?
Did you watch it?
Yeah,
No.
we should do a Patreon. Yeah.
Oh, God, yes. That could maybe get Cole to be a patron. Probably not.
Ooh.
So it was recommended to me as a terrible movie by Cole, and I recommended it on the podcast. I don't think anyone listened to it watched it, because I feel like people
there would
only
be
do
a cult
things when,
thread.
like, you say to do them.
Oh, stop it.
No, it's not that I'm bitter. It's that, like, I'm having that emotion of, like, when your friend
Bitterness?
gets validation for something, or like gets an award or something like that, and then like you don't, and you have like an intense reaction of like
jealousy and bitterness and
No,
Bitterness?
it's not bitterness, but it's more like just like feeling left out and like angry about, like being angry that your friend has something you don't. Like that's what I feel. Not bitter. But anyway, so I listened to, Cole told me that they had a How Did This Get Made episode about it. Ooh. And I had never listened to that podcast before, even though I've heard tons and tons about it.
Same.
But, and actually our podcast has been compared to being in the same kind of like family or feel as that one.
Oh.
Even though like they're just talking about terrible things and like negging on everything, but it's kind of a similar vibe, I think.
Sure.
Did you know that, June Diane Raphael of Gracie and Frankie fame.
Yeah, is married to the guy with a gap tooth. Yeah, because
it's not that. I didn't know she was on that podcast. I knew Paul Scheer was, but I didn't know that she was too.
Yeah, it's a little husband wife dream team project.
I had no
like
idea.
A bunch of other people. Yeah.
But yeah, they did one about Little Italy. It is hilarious. So if you did go out and watch that movie after I said to listen to that podcast and then immediately listen to the one about From Justin to Kelly, another one of my very favorite terrible movies, and then immediately go listen to the one about Speed 2 Cruise Control, which is another one of my very favorite terrible movies. Did you know that there wasn't a script for Speed 2 Cruise Control? It was just all
know that.
Improv?
That's nuts.
No wonder it was terrible. Anyway,
that's
all
amazing.
right. That's my lady love. I've had a lot of fun listening to those 3 episodes of that podcast.
Nice.
All right, what's yours?
I have 2. One is beware of psychic vampires.
No. What?
Yep. Okay.
Nope.
So I'm a big fan of Last Podcast on the Left. I love those dudes.
Oh, I haven't listened to that episode yet. Psychic vampires.
This week was psychic vampires. And normally I am like a straight up heavy hitters person for that podcast. Like there's a lot of times that I'm like, I don't want a cryptid. Don't tell me about the UFOs. I don't give a shit. I don't
care about a UFO.
Yeah.
I don't.
Just like tell me about the beheadings, and like those sorts of things. But this was an awesome episode. And it immediately made me think of like 3 people that I'm no longer friends with and or am trying to extricate from like whatever
psychic
thing.
Vampires.
Yes, because here's the thing. Psychic vampires I personally think that the most dangerous psychic vampires are the ones who don't know they're psychic vampires. Because if you do know and you like that's how you operate, then there's some like burden to get consent and like have an energy partner, if you will, you know what I mean, to feed off of.
Sure.
Whereas unknowing psychic vampires are just an energy suck on anyone they come in contact with because they don't know they're doing it. So my lady love is if you have a psychic vampire in your life, you just got to cut that shit right out, especially if you're in a close personal relationship with them. It's never going to get better. Okay?
Well,
there's just not, you can't get, that's not a fixable thing.
Can I have a counter, Lady Love, to piggyback off of yours? I guess counter is
So is it a counter or is it a piggyback?
It's not a counter. It's a piggyback. It's like little Bran riding up on Hodor's back. Sorry, it's just that Cole and I just talked about if you had sex with Hodor, would Bran be on his back or not? Listen, it's a great Patreon episode. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Cole said that he'd be on Hodor's back giving him snacks. Anyway, the TV show version of What We Do in the Shadows, the vampire show with Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
The TV show version added a psychic vampire character. So there are 3 regular vampires and then a psychic vampire whose name I can't remember, but he just like sits in he just like works in an office job and he's like totally normal. And he just like walks around the office with a cup of coffee, like being like, hey, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Wednesday, am I right? And then like as he walks away, for like the person just like slowly like turns into a C-shaped person and like goes down on their desk. Yeah, and then his like eyes gleam blue as he walks away.
Yeah.
He is hilarious. Like He's like the star of the show, hands down. So I highly recommend that show and that psychic vampire, and at least get to episode 3 where they go to a town council meeting. It's one of the funniest things I've seen on television recently.
All right, fair enough. Okay, and then my second lady love is
the full lady love episode, my friends.
It's a love fest up in here.
It is.
Okay, it is the Netflix movie Someone Great. Okay? Mm-hmm. It is incredible. It is just the pinnacle, I think, of lady love. It's all about, okay, so first of all, let me set the talent scene for you, shall I? Gina Rodriguez is like the main star chick.
You know, I like a Jane.
She I think like in real life, she might be the most charming person on the planet. Like,
she's
really
badass too. Like, she does like kickboxing and shit.
Yes. She's amazing. And she's always like, let's lift up other Latina women. Like, she's just incredible. So
I love her. Like,
already the charm level is at the peak, I think. And then all of a sudden you get a Brittany Snow and a DeWanda Wise. And like, I don't even know how. So those are the 3 ladies who are BFFs. And Gina Rodriguez's character is going through a breakup, and that's like what she's navigating the whole time. So there's also like these snippets of meet cute and snippets of like flashbacks of falling in love, which is really nice. It's not a romance. Do not go there for romance. It's about a breakup. But you get like those really beautiful, fun, down to earth, like relationship moments, as well as just 3 hot mess friends doing a bunch of Molly and a bunch of like alcohols all over the place and just trying to have one last hurrah before everything changes. And it is incredible. The movie is called Someone Great on Netflix, and you need to get there immediately. Anyway, so that's my lady love. Those are my lady loves.
All right, guys, 4 lady loves, 1 episode. You're getting spoiled. You can find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on Twitter at Heaving_bosoms, on Facebook at /Facebook.com/ there we go, Heaving Bosoms Podcast, the exclusive closed Facebook group that almost has 1,000 members and all of them wonderful so far. Bitches, be cool. They're all great right now. Be cool. No one shitty come in there, okay? Because everybody loves everyone right now.
That's right.
Is the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult, free except for all your possessions. And what else? We have a Patreon /Heaving Bosoms. For only $5 a month, you can listen to all those great Patreon bonus episodes. It includes me and Cole talking about who can and who cannot get it in Game of Thrones, and the fever dream from whatchamacallit, Fires of Winter.
Includes us performing the fever dream 1-woman show.
2-woman show. What was the one? And some tinglers. We've got Bitcoin in my butt and he's handsome coming up. Good stuff. And we also have merch at Redbubble. You can get a mug. You can get a t-shirt. You can get an It's On TM t-shirt. You can get a Bing Boom Bong t-shirt. You can get a Logistics with Erin t-shirt or a TMI with Melody. They're all great.
Or a pouch, a nice pencil case. Who knows?
A tote. A leggings. Really anything you can think about. A clock.
A scarf.
We haven't sold a clock yet.
No.
Get a clock.
Sure. Get you a clock.
All right.
All right, Erin. Keep being a badass.
And love yourself as much as you love tits out for breakfast.
Hell yes.
And we do. All right.
All right. Love you tons.
See you, Mel.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Ah! Lilas! Okay, back to the show.